Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Story, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. There has been a trend going around, specifically on YouTube, where creators are filming a video along the lines of why having 500 subscribers changed my life, or why being a small creator changed my life, and I thought it was a really good mindset to have, and it kind of got me thinking and jogged my own thoughts about what being a small creator is like and the pros and cons of it. So I said, why not make a video about being a small creator and the pros involved with it, because I feel like most of the time people work so hard to just immediately climb the ladder and have a ton of followers, when being a small influencer has all this fun perks that come with it as well, and there's a lot that people don't tell you or maybe you don't think about. So let's just talk about my experience being a smaller podcaster / content creator. I also have an experience of being on both sides, because I do have like a social media following for my pets and we do brand deals and such for that. So there's like two sides to it that I understand, and I know what it takes to be a small creator versus what it takes to be a big creator, what's involved, the pros and cons of both. So I thought it would be cool to hear my take on it and why I personally enjoy being a small creator, having my community and things like that. Do you guys hear that? It's finally warm enough for the ice cream truck to go around the neighborhood, but they're literally going so slow, and they've been right next to where I'm filming for 10 minutes now, and it's kind of slightly driving me insane. Okay, I'm gonna let them go ahead and leave the premises, and then we'll go ahead and jump on into the podcast episode. Before I jump in, don't forget to follow on whatever platform you are currently listening or watching on, as well as share with a friend who you think would enjoy this podcast episode as well. I'm Grace Story, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Let's jump into why being a small creator changed my life. I think the first thing, and the kind of like toughest pill to swallow, like the best thing but also the hardest thing, was that it taught me self-discipline. So when you are a small creator, you don't really have the motivation of hundreds of comments, thousands of followers, all these people that are constantly telling you, hey, I love your podcast, hey, I love your episodes, hey, I love you, where are you, why aren't you uploading, blah blah blah. So you kind of have to be very self-motivated, and you have to be self-disciplined for the sake of being self-disciplined. Like, you kind of have to find your own motivation and do something because you are disciplining yourself to do so, and there's really no other reason other than like your own personal why. So it's like you can't put all of your why into your following, because I love you guys so much, I do, but obviously there was a time when there were not that many of you, like even smaller than I have been right now, and I had to just kind of sit myself down and be like, you're doing this because you have a stronger why. You want to help women who feel lost in their 20s, feel like they're alone, feel like they don't have anybody to talk to, because you feel that way and you have felt that way and you know what it's like. And that was my why. But I don't have the best self-discipline in the world. I talk about this all the time on my Instagram, just like jokingly. Like, I am really relaxed with myself. I am not the strictest boss, let's put it that way. So having the self-discipline to not only film, edit, publish 2 podcast episodes a week, but also do all of the marketing, make sure everything's up to where it needs to be, check out the analytics, do market research, all of the things that go into making a podcast successful. Like, I'm a one-man show, so I have to practice self-discipline, tell myself when this is due, how I'm gonna get it done, and implement everything all on my own without a brand manager or without followers who are pushing me to do it. Like, there's all these things that you have when you're a big creator that push you to keep going, whereas now, like, I don't even have the monetization to motivate me. Like, I do this for free, and obviously there's like the hope of one day it being a full-time thing where I make money off of it, but even if I don't, I'm good with that, because my why is stronger than that. Like, I want to help women, and I will do that until the end of time. Like, we're growing up together, we're figuring this out together, and there's no amount of money or like lack of money that's gonna get in the way of that. It's something I genuinely am passionate about, you know? Also, if I make a weird noise or if you see me rubbing my nose or anything, that's because I have allergies, and I was at the barn this morning and it's starting to get a little a little whack out here. The pollen's starting to pick up. The hay is getting everywhere. So we have some allergies kicking in. So that's why I am rubbing my nose and stuff. But I'm good. I'm trying to keep it on the DL. But if you hear it or see it, might be. I'm doing my best out here. So the next thing that it taught me is self-assurance. So along the lines of like having followers who tell you like, hey, I love your content, or hey, I wish you would do this differently, or hey, you're awesome, you rock, whatever. Like the good and the bad that comes with it. I have to tell myself that. I have to tell myself that my episodes are awesome. I have to tell myself that I'm doing a great job. I have to tell myself that my podcast is helping people, because I see you guys. Even if you aren't commenting, I see the views, I see the likes, I see the follows, I see all of that. But when there's not someone commenting and being like, you're so awesome, it's kind of hard to like convince yourself that they think that. And you just have to be self-confident. Like you just have to assure yourself that you are doing everything correctly, you're doing what you're meant to be doing, you're on the right path, whatever. So I have to have self-assurance, especially because a lot of people don't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you a little life hack. More often than not, you're going to get haters before you get followers, because the algorithm is still trying to find the right niche for you, and so it's going to put you in a lot of random people, like in front of a lot of random people. And if you have a target audience, like my target audience is very specific. It's women in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s, that are looking for a community. And there's a lot of people that are excluded from that have seen my content and have hated me for it. Let me tell you guys, I have this one short, and like once a month it hits like the 50-year-old men target audience, and it cracks me up because they get so angry. I basically just talk on there about how I have 3 college degrees, which is a huge achievement. Like, I'm aware that that's a huge achievement. It took a long time for me to understand that that was hard and that accomplishing it was actually something worth celebrating. I have a really hard time celebrating my wins. So posting that was kind of like a milestone for me to be like, yes. And oh my god, the comments on there are crazy. The 50-year-old men are very, very upset to see another woman, or to see a woman being successful in general. I've heard things like misogyny is made up, women are only not as successful as men because they're lazy, I'm a narcissist for mentioning my success, like all of these crazy things, okay? And I would say that the hate that I have gotten over the time that I have been a podcaster has far outweighed the positive comments, which is not a bad thing. Like, I'm chilling. I am chilling. I have been chronically online since I was 13 years old. It doesn't bother me, but I want to be upfront with you that you are gonna get hate probably before you find your people that are gonna be like, we support you, we love you. Because when you look at, I was looking at it the other day, I saw someone's video, I think it had 72,000 views, and then it had 16,000 likes, and then it had 130 comments. And that's pretty standard for what you get on like that's a pretty good funnel, to so to speak, when it comes to engagement. Like, you're gonna get even less likes than views, and you're obviously gonna get way less comments than likes, and then the follows from that kind of vary. But I wanted you to be prepared that you are going to have to assure yourself, you're going to have thick skin, you are going to have to be your own advocate, because eventually, yes, there are going to be people who support you and love you and tell you they love your content and you're amazing and all these things, but you're probably going to run into a few trolls before anything else. And if you don't have thick skin and laugh it off, it can get to you. My personal tactic is to reply to them, because it throws it to the algorithm. Like, every single hate comment I get about 1,000 more views on that video. So I'm like, let me get that coin. Like, I need these views for monetization reasons, because you have to hit a certain amount within like 3 months or within a year or whatever. I need these views for the video's sake, to get the video to the women who could grow from it and see. Like, I want little girls to see that and be like, wow, I can get 3 college degrees in whatever I want to. I can be in a male-dominated industry too, because I mentioned that, because my 9-to-5 is in a male-dominated industry. So that's why I do it, but some people choose to ignore it, some people don't. Whatever it may be, just, you have to have thick skin and know that the haters are probably going to come before the followers, because you have to find, the algorithm has to put you in front of the right people, and you have to be confident within yourself. You have to have self-confidence and self-assurance and know that the content you are putting out there is for a reason. It's good quality. There's someone out there that's getting benefit from it, whether it may be one person or 1,000 people. You're helping someone, and that's what matters. So having self-assurance is a huge thing. I didn't have it at first, and I think it honestly hindered me, but I have it a lot more now. Honestly, I think having haters, I say haters, but it's like, you know, having hate comments has kind of given me more of a backbone, because I look at it and I laugh and I'm like, okay, I must be doing something right, because my favorite person when it comes to hate comments is Drew Afawalo. If you don't follow her, check out the comment section. It's a podcast that she has. So good. Okay, there's a gang of motorcycles outside of my window now. Okay. But she basically just like goes off on men for like being misogynistic and things like that. Like, that's her whole brand. She got famous for clapping back to men on TikTok who were saying and doing gross things towards women or minorities. And so her clapbacks are so good, and I just channel my Drew Afawalo. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. Like, Drew, I love you. You're one of my favorite people. We have 2 out of 3 of the same horoscope big 3. And then I also have 2 out of 3 of the same with Brittany Brisky, so we should all be besties. Putting it out there. This is my pitch for you. But anyway, yeah, I love her. She's one of my favorite people, and I really look up to her when it comes to responding to men, because man, is she good. If you ever need a clap back, check her out. Next is, it's giving me friendships and a community. I have met so many great women through the podcast. Whether it may be one person that you meet or 20 people that you meet, I really recommend making an Instagram for your brand, whatever it may be, because that's where you're probably going to meet most people. It's led me to be a guest on podcasts. It's led me to get advice from people, mentorships from people, and having a community of women that I can talk to and can give me, advice, and I can give advice to. I do polls and such. This is really mainly on Instagram because that's where my biggest community is, but I also do it on TikTok. And then obviously I post on YouTube and all the other platforms and put polls on Spotify and do shorts and whatever on YouTube. But whether it's on one platform or another, I have a community and I love them. It's kind of hard to engage with a community of 1 million people, but it's much easier to engage with a community of 500 people or even 20 people. So cherish where you're at, because maybe one day you'll have 1 million people, and obviously there's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing, but it is going to be a lot harder to get to know people, talk to them one-on-one, help them out, give them advice, and be the change in the community from the ground up, because you're going to be delegating a lot more. You're going to be kind of more hands-off. You're going to be more overseeing a community where everybody else engages, but you're kind of just watching them engage. But when you're a smaller creator, you're in the conversation more. So having friends and a community has been so amazing, and I genuinely love that part of this job, like genuinely do. It's taught me patience. I have horrible patience. Like, I have no patience whatsoever. I do something, I wait 2 minutes, and then I get upset that it hasn't come true yet. And this position, job, whatever you want to call it, hobby, has taught me so much about patience, because I went from being like, I want something to happen now, to I'm almost 2 years into the podcast, and it's still like a smaller channel and it's a smaller podcast, and I'm not like making a ton of money or any money right now off of it. I don't have like meet and greets. I am not being invited to these big events, but I'm cool with that because I have patience now, and obviously I'm telling you all these pros that I have found along the way, and I've just learned to enjoy the process much more than constantly looking at the end goal and not being focused on anything but the end goal, and kind of just letting the present moment pass me by. But let me tell you, it has definitely taught me patience. There's been times when maybe my analytics have gone down, because it's definitely not a upward progression. It's very up and down. Like, maybe I'll get stuck at a low plateau, or maybe I will post a video that I thought was going to do amazing and I put a lot of time in and it didn't do well, and I'll get really upset. But I just have to be patient. On that same note, you do have to swallow your pride a lot. So I don't know if it's swallowing your pride or pivoting, but for example, if you post a video with a thumbnail and then your click-through rate is really low, there's been times I've loved the thumbnail. I've put hours into the thumbnail and I've been so proud of it, and it hasn't performed, and I've had to throw something together and put that one on the video to see if that works, and that will sometimes get the click-through rate higher, because if your click-through rate isn't high, you're not going to get shown to more people, and then the video is going to die essentially. But it's really hard when I put all this work into a video or a thumbnail or something, a episode, and it doesn't perform. And it's like, oh, I have to change the title, or oh, I have to change this. But I get really attached to it because I put a lot of work into it, and my pride gets hurt a little bit. But you just have to learn to pivot and be willing to change if what you're doing isn't working. So that's definitely something to think about. It's hard to like, so you're still working hard. Like, even if you don't have 1 million people watching you, it's still a lot of work. It's still very hard work. But because it's hard work, that makes it something to be proud of, you know? Like, you're working very hard for little return unless you find pros somewhere else like I have. But if you're just looking at it for the monetization, the followers, the freedom of the job, things like that that don't come for a long time, then you're probably going to feel like you're having very little payoff for a lot of work. But I want you to know that even if no one's watching you, or you have 5 followers or whatever, like, it's still something to be proud of. You're still putting so much work in. You're still teaching yourself patience, self-discipline, self-assurance. Like, there's still all these things to be very, very proud of. And the work itself is something to be proud of. And you're teaching yourself skills that are going to make you more marketable if you do want to work in a 9-to-5 job, or something where you do have a boss or something like that. So I want you to realize that, yeah, it's hard work. You may not feel like it's paying off right now, but it is, and it's something to be proud of. Going back to pivoting, I think you also have to understand, like, you have to have extremely, extremely good creative problem solving skills, as well as being able to adapt very quickly. So creative problem solving, you know, the algorithm's constantly changing. Let's put that there. So it's not like you read the rules once and then those are the rules for the rest of the game. Because to me, social media is kind of like a game, and that's why I like it. It's a challenge, but the rules are constantly changing. Like, the algorithm is constantly adapting and getting smarter. It's kind of like AI. So it's adapting, getting smarter, changing, looking for different things, pushing videos for different reasons. And because of that, you have to be very quick on your feet when it comes to problem solving why something's not doing well, or problem solving how you're gonna market a video that may not be the trendiest topic right now, but you still want to do it because it's something you're passionate about, or just like how to market it in general, or how to get your podcast out to more people on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Like, there's so much creative problem solving and strategizing and adapting if your original plan doesn't work, and research that goes into it, whether you are reaching 1 million people or not. And in the beginning, obviously, you're not going to reach 1 million people, so you just have to be so good at problem solving and adapting and being quick on your feet, because that's a lot of what it is. It's like a game, and it's a challenge that you have to be really, really, really good at. It's not all luck. Like, luck is definitely a part of it, but some of it is just figuring out an algorithm that is constantly changing. Like, one day it could be one thing, and literally the next day you do the exact same thing on a video and it flops because the algorithm changed. So you just have to be so quick. I have improved business skills from this being a small creator. Some of it is negotiating, some of it is understanding the research behind a business, some of it is finances, marketing, whatever, all the things that go into a business, advocating for myself and my business. Like, you understand so much more about how a business works, because a lot of people don't look at a social media account, a podcast, whatever it may be, as a small business or a large business. They look at it as an account, and it's a small business. Like, you are a business owner. You are doing finances. You are doing taxes. You are marketing. You are doing all of the behind the scenes. It is a business. Is it a digital business? Yes. A lot of times there isn't a physical product unless you do merch, but it's still a business. So I've improved my business skills so much, and it has shown in my corporate job because I can market myself better. I can say, yeah, I have a podcast and it has gotten X amount of views in this amount of time, and I have a dog social media account that has gotten this many brand deals and this and that, and this is how I negotiate, and I can debate better, and this is my podcast cover that I made all by myself. Yes, I have graphic design skills. These are the editing softwares that I am familiar with. These are the finance skills I have. This is the research I've done. This is my marketing research ability. Like, there is so much that you learn just from doing that, like just from having a small account that you can market yourself with, you can grow with, and it just makes you a better business person overall. It gives me hope on bad days. Like, there are days when I come home from my 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 and I just like, it sucks. Like, it was a bad day. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. And there are days when I want to quit because that's just life. But then I think to myself, okay, one day I'm going to have this podcast and it's going to be amazing and I'm going to be able to help so many people, and that's going to be my full-time gig. Whether that happens or not is one thing or the other, you know? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll do both forever because I do enjoy what I do. But there are bad days when I think that, and having that idea of like, yeah, I'm going to have financial freedom. I'm going to have freedom to run my own business and do what I want. I'm going to have this. And that gives me hope when I just like want to quit my job and crawl into a hole under a rock and like never come out again. Because I know like, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And like I said, whether that light's actually there or whether I'm just being delusional is neither here nor there. If it's what gets me through the day, it's what gets me through the day, and it makes me so pumped. Like, there are times when I just get so excited. So yeah, having hope on bad days is like, it's so nice. It's just like, big fan of it. It taught me to prioritize. There are times when I get invited to hang out with my friends and I have to work on the podcast. And there are times when I get invited with my friends and I've worked so much on the podcast, just been so focused on it that I have to pull myself away and say, hey, you need to prioritize your friends. And then it's also taught me prioritization in the sense of when I get home from work and I have to clean the house, cook dinner, do the laundry, film a podcast episode, publish a podcast episode, turning around and like being able to prioritize and being like, okay, this is the podcast, this is what needs to get done, like this is the order of prioritization. It's just adding more responsibility to your plate and teaching you how to prioritize, especially when you're doing it for your own personal why and not because anybody's, like, a large amount of people are depending on you. You do have people depending on you, but you don't have like millions of people. So it really teaches you prioritization. When you don't have a large audience, there's less pressure and you overthink less because you're like, okay, well, this many people are going to see it. It's not like an entire stadium. Like, it's not like Cody Ko or JC Marie Smith or someone who is posting in front of thousands of millions of people or whatever. It's just a smaller audience, so the stakes are lower, so you have less pressure. And a lot of people say like, oh, they got big and they weren't ready and then they got canceled. Like, that's a common thing I feel like we hear nowadays. And you don't have to worry about that when you're a smaller creator, because you may say something or do something that doesn't align with society standards and they may get mad at you. I personally haven't had that happen other than the men getting mad at me for going to college. But you know, you may do something that upsets your audience, but your audience is a lot smaller, so it's not gonna like end up on E! News or something unless it happens to blow up, which is a lot smaller of a chance of happening versus like someone who has a big following. If nothing else, I have video diaries and audio diaries to look back on my life in my 20s. So whether the podcast ends up being this huge thing down the road or not, I have a diary of what I was feeling, what I was thinking, how I was doing things back in my 20s. And to me, I feel like that's so special. So that is definitely a big pro to being a creator in general, whether you're small or large. This is something you get to take with you. And I do get to feel, I feel like I'm more vulnerable because I don't talk to as many people, so I don't feel like the pressure of talking to as many people and someone judging me or like not liking how vulnerable I am. Like, I don't have that because it's just you guys. Like, it's just my besties and our small community. And so I am more vulnerable, and therefore when I look back on these audio or video diaries, I'm like raw emotion. Like, I can feel exactly where I was because I give more information. So when I look back on it, I'm like, okay, I know exactly where I was, what I was doing. I know this feeling. I know what I was going through. Camaraderie is a big one. So you're with other small creators in your community. You're all working hard and you have that sense of camaraderie. Like, we are going to make it one day when we are like millionaires or whatever. Like, when we're doing this and we're secure in our time and our finances and we're helping a bunch of people. Like, that's like camaraderie. There's a sort of like bond that you get with other podcasters, and it's sweet. Like, it makes me happy. There's a lot of self-growth and reflection. I look on my podcast episodes from when I first started, and I was so different than I am now. Like, even just how I presented myself or my outlook on the world from day to day was so different. I was in a different place mentally. I was in a different job. I had just graduated. I was in a totally different place, and being able to reflect on my self-growth is something that I don't know if everyone can do because they don't have like a video diary or way to look back and clearly see, okay, that's where I was and this is where I am now, and that's so crazy. Like, I'm so different. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to do and look at so vividly and just have such a clear picture of the person that I was and the person I am now. Along with that is self-discovery. When I'm sitting here twice a week talking about my feelings or my life or what I want to do or where I want to go, or just talking out different problems I have or things I want to do, gives me the ability to kind of brainstorm and self-discover more about who I am. Like, I sit here and I talk about thoughts of like, oh, I have anxiety, so this is what I do to solve anxiety. And then when I talk about all that, sometimes I have like light bulb moments and I'm like, wait, why am I not doing this? Or why didn't I change this or whatever? So having self-discovery along with the podcast, like in real time, is definitely a bonus for me. And that probably depends on your content, on whether you're gonna have like these aha moments or not. But for me, I definitely do have moments of self-discovery and like bettering as a person because of the podcast. That is the last tip that I have. If you guys are small creators and you also have pros to being a small creator, definitely let me know. If you can comment down below, comment down below. If you can comment on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I'd love to talk about it more. All of my links are down below. Thank you guys so much for sticking out this episode. And if you are someone who's coming back, I really appreciate you listening every single week, twice a week, and I love you so much. You are so special to me. I cherish you guys genuinely so much, so I love you, and it means so much that you're here. If you haven't joined the community yet, what are you doing, girly? Go ahead and join us. I am a community of women, or I try to build a community of women that are all working towards meeting our goals and want to do that together. So that sounds like you. If you're ambitious, or if you really don't know what you're doing and you want to figure out what the 20s are all about and where you want to be and who you want to be, then join us. I upload every single Sunday and Wednesday. If you're watching this on the Sunday it comes out, I hope you have a great night. If you're watching this on any other day, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. Leave a like, comment, rating, a review, all those things, because I want to hear from you. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye guys. Love you.